Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Tan, Executive Editor at Tech Target Asia Pacific. Welcome to another edition of Tech in APAC, where I recap some of the top news and developments across the region over the past month. One of the top stories last month has got to be, Intel's launch of the third generation Xeon server processor, codenamed Ice Lake. So Ice Lake is significant for Intel on many fronts. First of all, I think it signifies Intel's efforts to stage a comeback due to the delays in its 10 nanometer manufacturing process. Over the past couple of years, it has ceded a little bit of market share to its arch rival AMD due to those delays. But I think with the launch of Ice Lake, Intel is making a statement to the market that it is back in action and it wants to regain its mojo in the marketplace. I think with Ice Lake, it's more than just a processor launch. I think it also marks Intel's focus on its transition from being a CPU company to what it calls an XPU company, right? Where it isn't just contented with making faster chips. It also wants to address some of the limitations in the data centers today, in areas like memory as well as storage performance as well. So with the launch of Ice Lake, Intel has introduced some innovations in those areas. So it remains to be seen, whether these efforts are enough for Intel to win back some of the market share. But it's definitely a step in the right direction, and we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on Intel's developments and announcements in the coming years. The next story that I want to talk about is on Red Hat's move to focus on edge computing workloads. So during the Red Hat summit that took place last week, the open source vendor announced a series of enhancements to its enterprise Linux and OpenShift container orchestration portfolio to support edge computing workloads, right? So the demand for edge computing applications and infrastructure services has really accelerated over the past year or so due to the growing 5G momentum, right? As enterprises deploy more edge computing applications. So as a result, their platform providers as well as operating system providers like Red Hat want to have a slice of the action because there's a lot of demand in companies that want to build applications to deploy at the edge of the network to make sense of the data that they're getting on the factory floor, for example, in manufacturing, all that stuff. So it's a really key development for Red Hat for now. The next story is on the CDN market, or rather content delivery network market. So I spoke to a Singapore-based CDN provider called Toffs Technologies, and what they've done is to build point of presence or POPs in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities across Asia. It's a really interesting business proposition because traditionally these markets are not really favored by the large CDN providers like Akamai for commercial reasons, as well as due to the lack of economies of scale. So what Toffs has done is to ink partnerships with the local telcos to build point of presence in these markets, which have growing where there's a lot more people consuming content right on the move, whether it's gaming content or social media content. So there's definitely a market opportunity for Toffs to seize right here. So we'll be keeping an eye on how it does in the coming years ahead as well. So our final story has got to be the interview that I did with Labyrs, which is a blockchain-based startup based in Sydney, based in Australia. So I had a very in-depth conversation with their CEO, Lachlan Finney, on the state of adoption of blockchain in Australia. As many of you might know, blockchain is still in its infancy in Australia, and due to a lot of misconceptions, right, in areas like technology, for example. I mean, some companies think that blockchain is more secure than traditional security technologies, which is not really the case because due to the immutability aspects of blockchain, you need data to be distributed as widely as possible, right? Which really goes against what some of these other enterprises really want to do with the data. So Labyrs itself has been gaining a lot of business in Australia, so it remains to be seen, how much traction they can get in the local market. That's pretty much all I have for now. Thanks for your time, and I'll catch you in the next edition of Eyes on APAC. Thank you.